Hi friends, it's Scot Tempesta from Sailing Anarchy. We're back with another one of our retro boat videos. This one truly lives up to the name. The year was 1967. The designers were Sparkman and Stephens. The builder was Driscoll Boat Works, right here in San Diego. The end result, an SNS 46 Chimaera. All right, in the back part of the boat, I think it's called the Cockpit. This boat is amazingly unchanged in a lot of significant ways. That is, they left the basic boat the same. They took the lifelines off. They left the winch placements where they were. In fact, the boat's only got 5 winches total. 2 primaries, a main sheet, and then 2 on the mast for halyards. It's nice and simple. I bring this here so that you can see an example of a crew killer tiller. So yeah, it's good for the guy sitting here. Not so great for tacking because, I mean, that's why they have the primary so far aft so you don't get whacked by this thing. But anybody else day sailing or whatever, you gotta like, okay, come step over the tiller. But it's nice for the helmsman and it's a good sized cockpit. Something you'll notice about this boat that's pretty strange. And you'll understand it when I explain it. So this boat was originally built for an owner. He wanted to have the aft part of the boat just be like a separate thing. So this hatchway was not here. This cool window was not here. This was all flush. The original boat, you gained entry down below from just right after the mast. There were stairs there, and you would climb down awkwardly to get in the front part of the boat. Again, trying to separate them from the back. I don't know that it worked very well. In fact, I'm quite certain it didn't work. So what they did is they eliminated that hatch, and you couldn't put a companionway here because it would have run right into this giant galley that sticks out. So they had to offset the hatch and put it here. The ladder's right here. It goes down to a very natural sort of entrance to the boat. John Driscoll decided to put this window in to add some light down below, and frankly, the whole thing works pretty well. Very simple with the instrumentation right here. I mean, why make it complicated? This boat wasn't a complicated boat in '67. Why complicate it up now? They didn't, and really, it's a really nice cockpit layout. Let's talk about some dimensions on this boat. 46 feet, 10 inches, 47 feet. 11 feet, 0.2 wide, about 7 feet deep. Weighs 28,000 pounds. They did a very interesting visual trick, amazingly clever for back in the day. So you notice typically the tow rail, it's out at the end. They didn't on this boat, they moved it inboard so that it would give the visual impression that the boat was actually skinnier than it is. And it actually kind of works. And it also is nice because it opens this up. And I was saying earlier, if they just chamfered this, right? If they just rounded this off, it looked like a modern boat's interpretation of how they do the cap rails, tow rail thing. So I think it's really interesting how they did that. One of the things I personally love about this boat is the short cabin. I mean, it's just so great because it opens up the entire middeck and foredeck to a basic playground up there. It's worth noticing how slick these windows are. I mean, it just looks right in this kind of cabin configuration. Again, really simple, just the main sheet winch here, nothing else. All the other things like halyards and probably Cunningham and maybe boom bang, they're all up in this area. So it just keeps the boat a simple thing to do. And if we keep going forward, we'll see. Like, this is simple. There's not much up here. I mean, it's great. You got a windlass, and of course you're controlled for it. No bow pulpit, no pulpits, 3 halyards. If you take a look at the rig going up, it's interesting. So this is probably one of the original aluminum masts. I mean, they made this thing in '67. Driscoll made the mast from scratch at the yard, and they anodized it. They eventually added 6 feet to the top, original section. But if you go up like towards the hounds, in fact, you can even see where they added over almost 7 feet to the rig. And I think the head sails stayed very simple. For a lot of fractional rig, but it's got a huge main on it now. And then they also put a giant asymmetrical, which they just tack off of the front. You wouldn't put a prod on this thing. I mean, you'd be shot if you put a prod on this thing. You just wouldn't do it. So they added sail area to it. They modernized it a little bit, but the basic boat, like seriously, It is just so beautiful. You don't see boats obviously like this anymore. Not this configuration, right, with this short kind of cuddy cabin, if you will, and then again the monster decks. I mean, it's not much work. Let's go down below. All right, down below the Chimaera, a couple of interesting design things that happen when you do basically a flush deck boat with a short house. This becomes, in essence, sort of the living area, if you will, because you've got all this light from the windows, the extra window that they added here, the 3 opening ports there, and then, of course, the main hatch, which is relatively small. The thing is, there's no place to really hang here, right? Because there's a double bunk here, fine. Storage there, more storage here. You have a very decent sized little place for shelves and stuff and things. A nav station here, but it's missing the chair. I mean, you would think there'd be a nice sort of, you know, comfy chair here. And plus, if you hung out on the boat, you'd want a place for somebody to sit, but you can't right here. Follow me down to here, and this is the original cork floorboard. I should say floorboards. All in its entirety. Yes, they've had probably epoxy put on top of them, but these were cork floorboards. This boat was designed to the CCA rule. And along with IOR, the whole idea was to try to get the engine out of the back of the boat, get it in the middle of the boat, which is where you'd want it for sailing purposes anyway. You don't want all this weight back there or up there, which IOR started to encourage as they went along, and it was really strange. So if you're gonna put the motor right here, what are you gonna do? Well, you have to lift the cabin floor up to fit the engine in here. And we take a look. Here is the engine. So this isn't going to fit in here unless they've raised the floor up, which they clearly have done, as you'll be able to see when we walk forward and see the steps down to get there. But this is the original diesel engine. It's been rebuilt a few times, but that's where you put it if you want it to be here. If you're going to put it aft, there's lots of room for it, but who wants all this back there? Nobody does. So it's a pretty clever way to do that, and I think I can just do that. And so this is the main section here: galley, refrigerator, electrical panel, stove and oven, some modern-esque stuff here. They're showing their age with a CD player, okay? And yeah, it's nice and bright. Let's step forward and see what's going on in the cave. All right, I'm gonna step down into the main saloon. I call it the cave because you do have to step down here, and you're away from the windows and you are in the center of the boat. And okay, I mean, listen, you got a couple bunks here, all right? Obviously twin there, so you can put weight center if you're doing an offshore race, which I'm sure this was the intent. For hanging out, it's fine. I mean, you do have the light from that foredeck hatch, or mid-cabin hatch, I should say, and then you still have the resulting light from all that. Without that, this boat would be uninhabitable down here, but it's nicely done. Everything is beautiful satin finishes on all the white. Really nice contrast here with, again, the satin behind and the nicely finished storage things here. They have crew shirts. We'll take a couple of those. There's more crew shirts. Yep, we'll be wearing those. I think those are the owner's shoes up there. No need to open that. They kept the cork again down here. If we want to see what's under here, let's look. Now, wooden boats, you know, they're always wet down there, right? Oh, not this one. There is no water to speak of. Yes, it's got the electric bilge pump, but what? There's no water there. That's pretty impressive. You don't hardly ever see that when you open up a floorboard through a wooden boat. There's always some water in there. Pretty nice. And I don't think they cleaned it for us either. That's the main salon, basically. Let's go up to the forepeak. I didn't tell you the boat is made out of mahogany. It's Carvel planked. Again, Driscoll made it here in San Diego, and when they do another shot outside, I'm going to show you just how perfectly finished it is, and you could never tell that it's a wooden boat. In here, you certainly can. You've got a ton of planking and a ton of beams here, so it's obviously really solidly built, reinforced through and through and through. Not much up here. There's a little ladder step up out of the foredeck hatch if you have to hand sails up, but this is a storage area. For those who would wish to, you could easily turn this into a V-berth. This could be an owner's stateroom, no trouble at all if you wanted to. I think they tried to keep the boat as original as it was. It's John Driscoll's boat. He's the son of Gerry Driscoll, and so it makes sense to keep all that kind of in the family, OG. You got to have a real appreciation for that. So this is down below, Chimaera. Now, let's go sailing. You know, it's nice how the house, they didn't put it up too high because you can actually see over it. You know, that's nice. I've been on boats like this where the house is just a little too high. Yeah, with just a little blade jib, John, the thing goes right along. The boat feels fabulous. I mean, one of the things that's so interesting about sailing boats, you know, this vintage is, and especially a boat like this, I mean, this is a real pedigree boat in every way, but just the turn of speed that they have. You know, the performance levels that these things have. And granted, you know, we're just day sailing, right? We just have the 100% jib up, and you know, the thing goes right along. I mean, it's nice. When you get old enough, let's be honest, you eventually sail almost every boat there ever was. But so when you have a variety of boats that you race on or sail on, you know, you get it like, oh, this boat's pretty quick, or oh, that boat's not that quick. Oh, this boat's quick. I mean, it goes right along. It's big, it's heavy, but it's smooth as a gravy sandwich. The initial feel is not that it's 28,000 pounds. It doesn't feel heavy. The boat's got a relatively easy helm, just based on the amount that we're heeled here and you know, how little the breeze is. I mean, there might be 7, maybe. You know, the boat's got a little heel on, thanks to the monster mast that John put on the boat, and a huge mainsail, so the boat's relatively easily driven, I think it's safe to say. It doesn't require oversteering. You know, it's one of my worst habits is I oversteer a lot because I get nervous. But you can't get nervous in this boat because it won't let you do that. So it's very well behaved, and it should be. It's very light and it's flat, but it's nice. I mean, it goes right along. That's about the best I can say without having only sailed it for 5 minutes. This boat has a little spunk to it. I mean, even going upwind in that light air, you know, we got the little puff, the boat would heel over. You could definitely feel the acceleration through the tiller, and it's the same going downwind. I mean, we're reaching here maybe, I don't know, 120, something like that, apparent wind angle, and the boat feels responsive. It's kind of neat. I didn't know what to expect, right? I mean, I haven't sailed on an old S&S boat in a long time, but you know, it's important to always keep in mind they were the top designers in the world for literally decades for a good reason. I mean, they drew a fast boat. My dad, our second boat was a Sparkman and Stephens designed Yankee 24, Yankee Dolphin with a keel centerboard. And that thing was quick. So this boat, you know, has that sort of lineage, I think, that goes through a lot of their designs where they're just simply good, fast boats. And this boat feels like it. John, when you get a decent breeze, is it pretty good? I'll bet it's really good, right? Really fun. It's nice because it's got a super long tiller, so you get some leverage up here. You know, I like to stand up when I steer downwind anyway. I'm kind of a weirdo like that. So this boat, it's what you do. You stand up anyway. If it was mine, because I'm such a freak show, I'd have a hiking stick on it, and I'd have a place for me to sit so I could get out there, but that's me. It's not necessary at all, but I love it. Let's hear a little bit from the owner, John Driscoll.
Hello, my name is John Driscoll, and I own this boat, Chimaera. And this boat was built by our family at our family's boatyard here in San Diego in 1967. The design was a collaborative effort between my father and Frederick Leibhardt, the customer, and then ultimately Olin Stephens and Sparkman and Stephens. The boat does a couple of things for me. It's comfortable to be on if we want to take it somewhere. I enjoy sailing with people I sail with, and so that part's fun. But I enjoy this class and the people in it, and so it's a lot of fun for that. I grew up with a wooden boat, and wooden boats in general, and so I understand maintaining them. And wooden boats aren't a problem if you stay ahead of the maintenance. If you defer the maintenance and try and catch up, it's an expensive and long process. So as you look around this boat, you can see all the varnishes up and all the paints up and everything else. we never let ourselves get behind on that maintenance schedule. And that's the key to it. Sailing and racing in general is like a microcosm of life. You see every experience out there and you learn that you have to deal with what you have, and you can't change what's happening to you with the weather or where you are on the race course. You've got to work your way out of it. And if you apply that to life in general, that's a good philosophy, I think.
Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. You see the buttons down there, because the next one we're doing after this, well, let's just say it's markedly different from anything we've done before. I know you're gonna dig it. And this concludes the tour of Chimaera, the SNS 46. It's so great that it's been a Driscoll boat for so long now, and it's right here, and we're really happy to get to share that with you. I trust you really dug it. For Nobleman Productions, for Sailing Anarchy, I'm Scot Tempesta. We're out.